Hello, everybody, and welcome. I am so happy that you are with us to be witnessing Juliet Hines. She is an international teacher and facilitator. She has supported hundreds of women across 4 continents on this journey of awakening and transformation. Her gift is to guide women into the remembering of who they truly are through the awakening of their feminine sexual essence in union with the divine masculine. Juliet has been a dedicated practitioner for over a decade. Her core teaching came through the lineage of the late Dr. Shakti Malan, which included 8 years of supporting Shakti in her teachings. Juliet's transformation, a walk through immersing in nature on self-retreat, opening to the feminine. She spent hours daily listening and sensing into the fine subtlety of the pure aliveness of the earth moving through her body. It was during this time that she had her awakening and received a clear message that she is here to awaken the feminine on the planet. She has been dedicated to this awakening over the past decade with a deep meeting of the divine masculine within her body, heart, and consciousness. With her embodiment of the divine masculine, she has clear seeing, containment, and is held in her sovereignty. She has vision, integrity, is dedicated to truth, and in devotion of the awakening of the feminine. This union of unity into humanity, heavens on earth, and brings our world into balance. Welcome, welcome, Juliet.
Thank you so much. Yeah, lovely to be here.
Yeah, so you know, the part that I really like about this introduction is that connection to Mother Earth.
Yeah.
And I feel that this is a key point. You know, we can't really talk about our awakening without bringing Mother Earth as our ultimate mother into the picture. And so I would like you to talk about that.
Yeah, I'd love to. I feel, you know, this that you share now about the awakening. There's been a lot of awakening up, you know, rising out into consciousness and into the etheric and into, you know, the angelic realms and the higher realms. This journey of bringing all of that awakened consciousness down and into the earth is bringing that divinity down onto the ground, into our living lives, into this body. And my journey started with the awakening of the earth up, you know, and then I started receiving the energy from consciousness down. So this awakening from the earth up, connecting deeply with the feminine, has been a real deep journey around fully opening to the feminine and my body, and also meeting all of the human wounding. So there's no bypassing happening here. Yeah, it's meeting all of those places in our humanity, the lower 3 chakras, where there's been the abandonment, you know, and the deep places that are needing love and are needing holding, deep holding. And so as I started to open my belly and receive the earth up, all of those parts in the humanity started to be touched by her love, by that divine feminine love. And then there was just a call to stay so present in love with all of those parts of myself. And that rising from the earth up of the power of the creational force, this has been a journey of the purification of power. and the purification of the sexual energy. Because just above the earth and the root and the base, there's so much moving around the manipulation of power, especially amongst women. So this journey going all the way down and rising the energy all the way up has purified all of the layers in the sexual energy, all the disconnected places, and also all of the places that were moving from the place of needing love or to be seen or, to be validated, all of those places. So it's been a deep journey for me and a dedication to really let go into the earth and into that deep feminine. And there was just such a call for me to stay there for at least 2 years. I was pretty much just in nature and on my own, and just letting go and releasing and listening to her, and for that purified life, feminine sexual energy to rise into the heart and to create from love in the world. So it feels like it's so much, it's such a big question, and I could talk more about it, but I think I'll stop there.
Yeah, I can definitely resonate to that connection. I feel that my grace is at the moment of having, I could call it a spiritual death, where I was so in the earth, with the earth, and that was one of my biggest moments of healing in my journey, one of the biggest leaps of paradigm shifts, of healing, of really evolving. And this is also an exercise that I really like to give to women, to go and lie down with the belly on the earth. So it's belly to belly.
Yeah.
And let the earth take that all, because the earth is the alchemist that can turn that rubbish into gold, into nourishment, into your spiritual compost. And so yeah, this is a very powerful exercise to do when you need some balance, when you need to realign your body. Go and lie on the earth, facing her. Put your cheek on her cheek, and your belly on her belly, and feel the mother, the strength of the mother.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, so I find that what you're speaking about now is really receiving that nourishment and that holding, and that deep, like almost like being in the womb, where there's this place is dropping into being home with inside of the body, where there's no kind of searching outward. And also what I found as I've connected more deeply with the earth, there's also all of that awakened power that starts to rise.
Right.
Like an immense amount of creational life force energy, which needs containment and responsibility. And that's where I found the masculine, has come in to really bring that, holding that silence, that devotion to bringing that amount of power into the world in a way that it's aligned with purpose and love, creating of the new forms in the world. Yeah.
Right. So you bring in the masculine, which is really an important element to integrate within before we can integrate it without.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I know that I work with my feminine and masculine, and now doing the summit, I really use a lot of my masculine energy, which is directing and goal orientated, and there's a lot of focus, and I have to move in a certain direction. And my feminine is where I retreat and I envision, and I use my creativity, and that's how I work them together to create everything in the world. So can you talk about your experience?
Yeah, that's beautiful. I just felt like how your masculine is in devotion to her, and you're making love. You know, you've made this beautiful creation that is making love in the world. And I have had a real deep journey around my masculine. I was in strategic marketing and corporate in my 20s, had a very potent, driven masculine energy, which was disconnected from my feminine. So, and my body shut down, my heart shut down. I couldn't feel that connection, yeah, to the earth or to my partner. I was married at the time, to love. There was just just such a movement around doing, yeah, and I couldn't sit still. So my journey was, I let go, like almost let go of that old patriarchal masculine shell that was like in deep protection, but was almost shutting down the feminine energy. But it was moving from a place of fear, yeah, and conditioning, through my conditioning. And so my journey was to really let that go. And then I had this awakening of the feminine and just softened and opened to her, moved through all of that deep healing. And then that true creational life was coming through. And then there was an integration of what I call now the divine masculine, which is that aspect of the masculine, which is pure presence, yeah, and silence and holding. So I feel that masculine, as that masculine started to come into me, it's like I feel him like that light coming all the way down and in, that the penetration of the masculine, but as pure truth and that seeing and that clarity and the efficiency. But it's like they're not separate anymore. It's like infused together, where that masculine is moving. So there isn't like this doing, and then, being in the feminine separate to the masculine. It's like that love and that life force is moving, and that masculine is bringing it through, and that's like from that aspect of the creational piece. But then there's the relationship with the masculine through the healing and the transformational journey. And I like to describe the masculine as the end of abandonment, because when that masculine comes all the way in and touches those deepest, tender layers inside of humanity, it's like that presence and that silence is infusing love into those places of the feminine that's been wounded by the patriarchal masculine. And then there's just like this deep making love with that pain that starts to happen. And there's like a settling and a holding that I feel inside of me. And there's just continued layers of this, the meeting those layers. And then there's like another rise of creative energy and life force, and another wave where he comes into devotion to bringing that through. And then there's like an inner movement of transformation and healing. So it's like he is holding that container. And it's totally shifted my relationship with men completely. I wasn't in an intimate relationship for about, between like 8 years. I had some experiences, but after being married, I let go, and then I just was cultivating this inner union. And now I'm in relationship with a beautiful man, and the the way that we're relating is from a place of like me holding myself and being totally in devotion to my feminine. And there's no like needing him to hold me or to be anything for me. And there's a deep love for man now. It's like I've healed all my rage and my mistrust and my pain around men. And this feels like ancient wounding from, you know, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, but it's totally shifted this embodiment of the divine masculine relationship with man. And I've also now been able to hold space for men in a very purified, clear way, where I've been supporting men to meet the awakened feminine within inside of themselves and to more embody the divine masculine. So it's been such a deep journey with the masculine for me, especially, I would say, the last 3 to 4 years, and bringing that union, with inside of me and outside. Yeah.
And it's really moving into that place of balance and love and harmony between the feminine and the masculine within ourselves that will bring that wholeness, because we do contain those two essences, and there was so much work going on, and yet the healing is right there in the meeting of the two. And when we manage to create that within, with our inner feminine and masculine, we will reflect it to the outside, and imagine how our world will look like if there is peace and love between the feminine and the masculine.
Beautiful. Yeah.
It would be a whole other,
Yeah.
That's what we're calling in. That's what we need. We need the men are also being very, very wounded. And we have to remember that with all the blame and the rage, and is that almost a consciousness after the Me Too movement of blame and victimhood consciousness. And it doesn't really takes us anywhere. And the new movement is to realize that we all been wounded in so many ways for so many years that we don't even know what is right or wrong sometimes, or it's beyond right or wrong. It's we don't know what is healthy, what is sovereign anymore, because we lost that thread. And so it's through the healing of the feminine and the masculine coming together in love and respect and cooperation that we can create heaven on earth.
Yeah, that's so beautiful what you're saying, and this I resonate with deeply. Is about the Me Too. It's part of a woman's healing to be able to feel that rage and to say no, because when a woman has had that sexual abuse, there's something that happens inside of her where she feels like she couldn't say no, and there was a victim and a perpetrator in that energy. Then, so part of the healing is to feel the feelings and to say no. But part of the healing is also to be able to fully embody the perpetrator inside. So the way that I work with women is that, and I've experienced this on my own journey, like I've had that very strong perpetrator energy in my my upbringing. And the way that I've needed to move through that and heal it is to actually feel that energy inside of me and be able to rise up and say no. That's part of almost becoming the perpetrator. So what I've seen with like the Me Too is like that energy that rises up in women that is then going into rage and blame and shaming men. It's kind of like them coming into the perpetrator, which kind of alchemizes that victim-perpetrator polarization. But it's almost the same energy. It's the same energy relating. And so to fully transform that within inside of myself and with the women that I've been working with is to meet that perpetrator inside and then be able to come into compassion.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I've seen with a lot of men that they've experienced that same perpetrator energy with women, especially when they're little boys and their mothers have emotionally overstepped their boundaries. It's felt like a perpetration for men, as strong as that perpetration energy that a little girl would feel with her father, for example. So I've really been working with that really consciously to heal like both sides and to bring that fully into the compassion. And that's where I feel it coming into the heart, and there's so much healing that happens there. And I just feel to share a story with you, which is, I feel like it'll be, supportive for what I'm sharing now, is that I was actually in Cape Town, and this was before I started to go traveling and teaching. It was a few years back, and I could feel this terror inside of me, and it was on a kind of like a lower level and kind of above a lot of protection. And I couldn't quite access it. And I knew there was something that was stopping me from fully coming into my power and really being who I truly was in the world. And I was walking in the mountains one evening on my own in Noordhoek. And I went and I sat on a rock and I fell asleep. And I woke up and it was coming dark. And I was walking home, and I knew, and I could feel that perpetrator energy that was in the air.
Yeah.
And two men came towards me with that energy. So I could feel it coming towards me. They had knives. They threatened, they wanted, sex. I could feel the sexual perpetrator. I could feel the murderer in those two men. I could feel the victim in me. And because of the work that I'd done, I brought that divine masculine, like really present. And I rested and I opened my heart. And I felt the earth. And I was able to just connect with those men. Yeah. And I just shared with them, I've got some money, I can give it to them when we go back to the car. And I directed that whole situation. And we got back to the car and I felt that struggle again. I could feel that kind of victim rising in me. Then I could feel the perpetrator energy vibrating at the same energy. And then I kept opening my heart, bringing that masculine in, feeling the earth rising up. And I was able to just bring that money, give it to them, say that I'm going. And as that transference happened, they looked at me and they became the victim. And they started crying and they said, sorry, we were hungry. Yeah. And I just blessed them. And I said, it's okay. It's okay. And there was just this beautiful healing in this heart energy moving between us. And then I left and they left. And I was able to access through life bringing me that experience of that perpetrator energy. I could access that victim inside of me that I wasn't able to access. So I had attracted that energy to me so that I could feel that terror. And underneath that terror, so I went into a whole process of feeling that energy moving through my body. And as I stayed with it, it just opened into that pure power, because that terror like vibrates almost as on a similar vibration to that power. And from that interaction, it was such a gift. I bowed down to those men, because through that full meeting of that energy inside of me and that transformation that I went through, I was able to just bring forth what was truly inside of me into the world. And that's when I actually started traveling and teaching. It moved through so much. And this is what I teach women and hold space for women, is to really receive that energy, to alchemize it into their power, and not go into the perpetrator with the men.
Yeah, beautiful. Wow, beautiful story.
Yeah.
It's such a great teaching on your path, and so beautiful that you harness it and see it. And we all have the universe working for us, actually, for our growth. It's not happening to us. It's not, definitely not against us. If anything, we've got so much unseen support out there.
Yeah.
Right? The angels are with us all the time. And knowing that life is moving in certain ways, mysterious, for our growth, for our evolution, for the teachings that we can take from it, to be able to feel all the feelings. If grief comes your way, then diving into the depth of the grief, really diving into that without attachment, but also with full heart, then that grief will alchemize and transform into such other depth that is the other side of it. It's the joy, it's the pleasure. So it's really about that alchemical process that we work with within, to be able to heal ourselves and become whole and divinely human and humanly divine, right?
Yeah, that's so beautiful. Yeah, and I feel it's so empowering to be able to whatever life is bringing, is to look. Look, what is life bringing to me? What is it touching inside of me? What is life showing me, so that I can meet myself more deeply,
Right.
so that I can feel myself without, resisting or moving away from any, what you said, feeling. Just to be able to fully open to what life is showing. And I find that, when patterns come, it's like that life is showing us, especially in relationship with men, when there's that repeated relating that comes in those different forms and in other aspects of life, she's showing us, she's always showing us, like, there's something here that you're needing to see, something here that you're needing to meet, something here that he's showing you about yourself. And then there's just there's that embrace of every moment, rather than trying to get somewhere else to where you're at right now. Beautiful.
I've learned that lesson very well when I was traveling with my family. We went on a journey that we thought would be a year, and it ended up being 4 years.
Oh, wow.
With 3 young children. My youngest was a year old, so it was full on. It was not for the faint of hearts, but it really taught me to be in trust, because I was really out of the comfort zone all the time. And to be open to what life has to bring into me. And it's almost like living on the edge of awakening, because there is just the moment, right? And that was my training in understanding that, be open to what life brings, and just say yes, whatever it is, say yes to it, and work your way with it, right?
Beautiful. I felt like that movement into the unknown, and the surrender, and the trust that you were in, to be able to move with where life was calling you, and not knowing. And I feel like all of the structures that we've created in humanity, like the old ways of being, and the boxes, and the, like, knowing everything, it's created some kind of false safety, but underneath there, there's still all of those feelings. And I found the more that I've opened to the feminine and allowed her to, as that sexual creational life force energy, just allowed her to move me and not me to move me. And to listen, and there's that grace, and there's that holding, and she's always there. Yeah, and I feel like there's been so many layers for me around the conditioned ways of creating. And as soon as there's any kind of conditioned way of creating that comes through me, she closes down. And it's like, no, you got to let that go. You got to surrender deeper. There's something more here you're needing to feel, to meet with inside of yourself, to really open to that new birthing of humanity, like what you described. It's not from before. It's not from the old ways. It's from her, from feminine rising, which is not from an old way of moving in the world. Yeah, so I feel like that you shared now is just like a real deep unfolding for me on a moment to moment. Yeah, moving in the world. Yeah.
That's something really potent in traveling, because you constantly change the people you interact with and your comfort zone and your surrounding, and so it's already makes you a little bit more flexible, right? And so it's important to bring that flexibility, even if you living life in a certain pattern or rhythm, or to open up a little bit to that flexibility of just allowing what wants to happen to simply happen and work with that.
Yes, and what I'm getting now when you're sharing that is the emptying out of the head and just bringing that quietness and that presence and softening into the heart, and really dropping down into the belly and just taking that time to listen and to feel. And that can be wherever you are. Yeah,
it's so important. I made it now as my regular outlet. Every couple of months I go for a little bit just on my own, to be in silence and to be in that aloneness space where I'm with myself, and that's the best company I could possibly be with, right? That place of so it's very important to find it, even if it's just a couple of minutes a day, even if it's just that breath and feeling the earth and closing the eyes and taking a moment of just relaxing.
It's what you're saying now, just that softening and the relaxing doesn't take a lot of time. And I feel like that is such a key to connecting with the feminine. That softness and that receptivity with inside of just feeling the cells in the body just start to open and let go. And then there's this beauty that starts to flow through and nourish and heal and that softening and that connecting in and that feeling of being home inside.
Right.
It's like the noise and the searching outside starts to drop away. Yeah, it's just like more of a like a resting inside. Yeah.
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 And this is allowing the feminine to move through by opening, by consciously, intentionally being in the receptive side, to allow that energy to penetrate, right?
Yeah, it's so interesting because that conditioning says that softness is weak,
Mm.
but it's like that softness and that receptivity and that opening of the body actually creates a space for the power to rise. And also opens the heart where we can actually receive every aspect of life, so every aspect of ourselves, but there isn't kind of like a protection and a shutting down and a pushing away. We can stay with that embrace and that welcoming of, 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 of every aspect of what's new in life. Yeah.
So I think that to get into that place of harmony and peace and co-creation between the masculine and the feminine, some work needs to be done.
Yes.
Right? Let's talk about that aspect, because the wounded masculine and the wounded feminine that we also carry, all of us, no exception, as people that grew on this planet, which was so abused for so many generations, then the feminine, which is the mother connection, and the masculine, which is the father connection, this is two primal relationships that needs to be healed. They need to come to completion in at least within, to be able to move into that field of the masculine and the feminine divine dance. So we want to talk a little bit about that, and I know that I've personally done a lot of work on that. So yeah, what is your understanding?
Yeah, I'd love to. Thank you. Just having this conversation, it feels so deeply resonant. And so for me, the way that I've journeyed with this side of myself, and also the space that I hold for women in the world, is that we each have this wounded masculine and feminine, and then what I call the conscious masculine and feminine, and then the divine masculine. And it's a journey in cultivating the divine masculine and feminine, so that we can bring the presence of the divine masculine, consciousness, and love of the divine feminine into the places of the wounded masculine and feminine. And then those places in the wounded masculine and feminine start to become healed and become more conscious and whole. But it's a continuous journey, and I started the beginning of our conversation of bringing the divine into the human, into the wounding, and no like bypassing, So it's like what I found, the more I can meet those places of wounding inside of me, then I'm not relating and creating in the world from my wounding. I'm more meeting and healing those places and seeing that this journey in this physical form of bringing the divine down into the human is about healing humanity and is about rising divinity into humanity. So this specifically comes up a lot in the intimate relating with man. So I see the intimate relationship as a gateway for deep transformation, awakening, and healing. Because I find that, and this is intimate relationship with children, with family, with friends, it's the same. But I see like as the deeper intimacy happens between the two, it starts to touch those tender layers inside of us. And it touches that the wounding in the masculine and the feminine with inside of ourselves from our mother, father wounding and our experience as we came into this world. So the way that I dance with that is the deeper there is the coming together with another and with self, or with life. It's going to touch those layers, and the movement is to bring presence, the divine masculine bring presence. Something's been touched, How can I stay present with this and then open the heart, rise that feminine love from the earth to meet that place inside that's been touched in the wounding, which is that wounded masculine and feminine, which if it isn't met with that presence and that love, it goes into strategy, it goes into protection, it does all sorts of things. Yeah, we know what it does. It's doing all of these things because it just needs love. Yeah. So my journey has been to meet that place, to say, okay, that person is touching that place inside of me. Thank you. Meet that place inside, hold that place, open myself to love and to presence. And then I can meet my intimate partner from a place of vulnerability and truth, and not from a place of protection or projection. Yeah. And this goes with every intimate relationship. So my journey has been to really bring consciousness, and it takes dedication, commitment, work to cultivate the consciousness and to cultivate the love. And it's the commitment to deeply loving yourself and humanity. It's the commitment to really meeting what's inside and not making it about the outside.
Well, that's exactly what intimacy, into me, I see.
Yeah.
And so in these relationships, we have an opportunity to be in all sorts of dynamics. It's up to us what we choose to bring into that relationship. And if we choose expansion, growth, love, support, respect, kindness, then that's what we're gonna feed into that relationship, and that's the field that we will create. But if there are wounded places, and I certainly have gone through that journey with one partner, actually. I've been with my husband for 22 years now, and we've been through so many roller coasters in this journey of relationship. And I was always very dedicated to truth, to my journey, and that's what I brought into the relationship. And he had to meet me there, and he had to rise to meet me where I needed to be met. And so we see that relationship as an opportunity for me to be held by him, to be protected by him, supported, and me in the relationship as the navigator, the feminine that envision and creates and changes and moving. So yeah, this is the meeting, the intimacy, and then I've got, of course, the relationship with my children, which is, again, how do I stand in the truth of fire when they look at me and tell me where I'm wrong, and they, I really sit with it, because they also my teachers, and without activating any wounded piece in me, I'm sitting in the truth of fire and really take from that what I can to go to my next level of evolution, right? To rise into my divinity, into my humanity.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I found the deeper I've gone into intimacy and vulnerability and holding those places and sharing that with my partner, and not, and really bringing my inner masculine to hold, and not having any expectation of him being that for me, he naturally comes forward. Mm-hmm. It's like that devotion is so inside of him with that masculine. It's just when the feminine inside of me is open and radiating in love, it's just this natural movement of like the bee coming into the flower. When I've got my protection and my claws out, it's like he can't come near me, because I'm pushing him away, so he naturally moves there and is in there in that presence and that love with me. And what I found as well is the invitation that we have in our relationship is for me to be that for him as well. And so he's had deep openings in his feminine, and healing and transformation, and feel this like beautiful, Shakti energy rising in him as well. So it's not like I'm wanting him to just be the masculine and me just the feminine, So it's kind of like been dancing healing journey between both of us, because as we've been saying, that masculine and feminine is in both of us. But definitely the natural attraction is that masculine and feminine, man, woman. And there is like what comes through me and what I'm sharing in the world, like what you said with your partner, like he's naturally in this devotion to what wants to come through, and like on kind of like a form even of like the structure and the technology, and that he's just naturally stepping in with that without me asking. It's just he feels called to. Yeah.
I feel the same. I feel that the masculine energy, when there's love and flow with the feminine, it thrives on support and providing, just give me a goal and I will go and prosecute it and I will do it for you. And and of course when he can come back to the loving arms of his queen, then he will do anything for her.
Yeah. So, yeah. I'm really feeling this rising of the divine masculine in men, and that devotion, it's so beautiful. And I feel like men can, or women, should I say, women can really create that invitation. Yeah. Really, really, for this deeper healing on the planet.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the Dalai Lama said that the healing of the planet will come from the Western woman. And for me, it's because they are educated and closer to, having birthing life, having the ability to create life, just the connection to spirit and to the earth is just so close. And I think that if we really shift from that victimhood consciousness, but completely, and embrace the masculine, magic will happen.
Yeah.
And
I feel that when you say the victimhood, I can feel a whole lot of identity around that. It's like it's an identification, which has a story, and it kind of takes a woman out of her essence and out of her power and out of like what's truly wanting to come through, and the more that is dropped through, And the only way that I've been able to fully drop through those identifications, and I feel like there's been so many of them that I've been burning through, it's like when there's that presence of, okay, I'm in an identification of some sort. There's something in me that's saying that this happened and da 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 da. And I just bring that presence in, and I open into that stillness and that cauldron of truth and fire that you spoke about earlier. And then that awakening of the feminine sexual energy moves up from the earth as that pure fire of transformation. And that's where there's that fire, or that awakened Kundalini energy, for me, starts to open up and starts to burn through that identification. But it only awakens for me and the women that I've held space for when there's that real letting go of that identity. And the identity wants to hang on, you know, because it doesn't want to lose who it is. But what I found, what also needs to be met, is the tender layer underneath there. You know, so the place that went through that trauma or went through that experience that felt really painful and that was confusing or hurtful, or to like really be present in that and allow all of the feelings and the healing to happen. Then there can be a real deep release of that whole way that someone's put themselves together through the cells of the body, and there can be like more of that truth and that wholeness that starts to come through. Yeah.
So we're heading towards the end of our time together.
Oh wow, it's been an hour already.
Yeah. Would you like to share with the audience about your gift?
Yeah, sure. So what's I'm holding mostly at the moment is what you shared in the beginning of the call, which is this healing and transformational journey through the awakening of the feminine sexual essence in union with the masculine. And that comes in the form of it's a 12-month online program. Is the inner transformational journey. And this is where we go through a deep journey in a contained way, where we move through all of those layers around the inner transformation. Basically what I've been speaking to you a lot about now on the call. And then there's this birthing of who a woman truly is into the world through fully opening to that awakened feminine sexual essence in union with the masculine. And then there's a space for women to go deeper through another 9-month journey around what I call the art of facilitation for the feminine. And the first 12 months journey is called Sexual Awakening as Embodied Love. So that's the body of work that's both through me, and the lineage is through the Dr. Shakti Malan and the Earth Mother, and also connect very deeply with the streams of Mary Magdalene and Mother Mary. And what's been coming through just this year is deeper work with men. So to guide men through a similar journey around the awakening of the feminine and union with the divine masculine through men. So that's completely new, and it's like a seed's being planted. And I support many women in relationship with their partners to be in this cauldron of love and truth together for awakening transformation. And that comes in the form of a one-on-one mentorship program. Yeah, and I also offer one-on-one mentorship for men and for women. And of course, the in-person retreats. So just recently I had a 7-day in-person retreat in New Mexico. Deep wild nature. So I'm actually here at the moment, and it's 500 acres of wild woods and mountains and streams where we can just really like let go and drop into the earth and awaken to her. And I'm actually going to be coming to South Africa in January and holding one of these retreats in South Africa as well. Yeah. Yeah. So does that give a good summary? Yeah.
I know that you've got a gift that you're sharing with the audience. So you want to talk about that?
Oh, right. Yes, yes. Sorry. I totally misunderstood that question. So the gift with the audience is it's a practice. Yeah. So it's a series of beautiful meditation practices to awaken the feminine and union with the masculine. So that's the gift that I'd love to share. Yeah. And that's something that I offer more deeply on the 12-month journey. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so there you go. A beautiful resource if you are in that place that you need the quietness and the connection to the earth. Contact it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So thank you so much for being here, and blessings on your journey.
Thank you so much. And I really honor you, for creating this beautiful, beautiful creation, which is I can just feel the golden threads that are weaving amongst women and creating a deeper sisterhood. Yeah, I can feel the beauty and the healing that is happening on that level as well. Yeah, so thank you. Yeah, honoring you. Yeah.
Thank you. So for everybody else, ciao now, until the next time.